Guys, I just found out some
dark past
in Roblox games and their community. Apparently some of these games are cursed and some of them just have a dark past. So today we're going to be seeing which games are cursed and which ones have an untold secret you didn't know about. Let's start this off with the most popular game out there, Dress to Impress. Dress to Impress is one of the most popular dressing up games out there, but it actually had a dark past with the Lana lore, which, in my opinion, the Lana lore is actually very, very creepy. If you don't know what the Lana lore is, let me give a brief description from my understanding. So Lana was a girl who did nails in Dress to Impress. She loved her job at first, but then she started to realize that nobody cares about her and her real life. She would work for hours on people's nails, and she never got to go home.
Dress to Impress, Chapter 1, The Nail Lady. In Dress to Impress, there's an option to paint your nails, and obviously someone has to do them for you. That person to do it for you was the Nail Lady. She sits there and does everyone's nails like a Nail Lady would do. The April Fool's update came out. Everyone was focused on the new update that came before April Fool's. It was a huge update, until players started to notice that the Nail Lady was not the same she used to be. She was crying. She had tears running down her face. Beside her was her diary?
Yeah, her diary is where she told all the horrible and hard things she went through. I guess she didn't have any friends to help her escape from that tragic salon.
It had lots of info about her that we never knew.
It says, I hate it here. I've been working here for the past 5 years, 24/7. No break, and nobody respects me or knows my name. They just call me Nail Lady, when I'm so much more than that. My name is Lana, but nobody calls me that, and I hate it here. I'm going to run away one day, but no one will care. They just take me for granted, but they don't know what it's like. I am more than just the Nail Lady. I am human, and I'm tired of holding in my tears. I will backfire on all the people who took advantage of my free nail services and get my revenge when they don't expect it.
And she wasn't lying when she said she'll get her revenge when everybody least expects it. She was literally holding in all her anger and wanted everybody who took advantage of her to feel how she felt. She obviously felt used and worthless.
But basically, she hates working as the Nail Lady and hates being called the Nail Lady, because she actually has a name. It's Lana, if you didn't know, because that's been in the lore for a little while. But she says she'll take revenge on the people that took advantage of her when they least expect it. That's creepy as...
By the way, this is the other side of Lana's diary, which is some photos and a target list. Me when I was happy, and now I will set fire to this terrible nail studio.
Girl, please. I would too. Okay, this is when things start to get spooky and scary. Lana is now being replaced by a clone, cause the real Lana knows too much.
To Chapter 3, The Doppelganger. A new update came out to Dress to Impress, and Lana, the Nail Lady, finally has her own nail salon. It says her name at the top as well. You would think the lore is over, but no. If you see on the shelf, there's Lana's diary. The second page, it reads,
Dear Diary, that isn't me. They replaced the real me with some doppelganger. That girl sitting at the new desk is not me. I don't know who that is. I don't want to. But that's not me. I'm Lana. She's not. But she's pretending to be me. I don't know where I am. 𝗴ecie is holding me somewhere, so I can't escape. Please help me. I'm so scared, and I hope that thus, sitting at my salon chair doesn't harm my image. But I think she's the reason why all these players are going missing. And on the other side of the diary is a code saying, Find me.
This is what happens when you know too much and try to spread awareness on it. But if you search up Lana's Roblox profile, there will be a spooky game which gives us more clues.
On the other side of her diary reads a Roblox user ID. If you search it up, it takes you to an account called Lana Does Nails. This account has a game called Forest.
So that was raw footage of how Lana saw the studio and what she's planning on doing. Now let's get into the theory, how she got her job, what rules she had to go by, and what would happen if she disobeyed these rules. Also, these rules are so unnecessarily scary. I would be nervous every day trying not to break them if I was Lana.
Chapter 4, Lana Theory. This was the letter that she got from the owner who hired her. Dear Lana, I hope this letter finds you well. My name is Gigi and I work for a special agency hoping to recruit new talents. We've seen your abilities and I must say my interests are piqued. However, there's a catch. Don't worry, our intentions are pure. It has to do with the agency itself. We hold many secrets. Lana didn't have a good feeling about this, but needed the money to pay off her medical debts. Lana had to follow 3 rules if she wanted to work here. Rule number 1, don't tell them what we did to you. Rule number 2, don't tell them our plans. Rule number 3, don't try to escape. She followed these rules for a long 5 years. Lana couldn't take it anymore. Hid after that, but was eventually found. Before she got caught, she wrote in her diary. It's saying, Dear Diary, Awakening. I think they found me. By some twisted miracle, they found me. They know what I've been plotting against them, and they've come to hurt me for leaking information. They promised to pay off my medical debts if I kept a secret and helped them. However, what they wanted of me went against my morals, so I told. I shouldn't have told. The Awakening. The Awakening is what took Lana and other players, and Gigi the owner runs it. So they took Lana and made hundreds of doppelgangers just to get her right. They needed to replace her so that no one could tell where she really was. Soon, Lana found a way to talk to the players, and she had a confession. She said, It's me running the Awakening.
And this Lana theory is actually very long, so we're gonna skip to when Lena comes in. But first, who is Lena? Lena is clearly the new nail lady now. She was replaced by the clones, I'm assuming, because people caught on to the clone of Lana. And people were realizing that wasn't the real Lana, so they brought in a real nail lady. But I could be wrong, so let's see this explanation video.
Lana has been overthrown by some new lady named Lena? Chapter 21, Lena does nails. A new Lana has joined the lore now, but it's not Lana, it's Lena? Lena's description says, I wanted to work for them, yet she was in my way, when suddenly she disappeared one day. I asked to fill in the gaps she left behind her, of course. A nail salon can't function without an owner. I have a feeling everything I worked for is just temporary. If you turn to the side, you see a shelf, and near that shelf, on the floor, are spilled nail polish and footprints. If you walk through the wall, you'll drop down and see Lana in a cage. The walls have sentences saying, 𝗴𝗺℉ Her name is like mine, but she's so different. Nails. Please believe me, I'm real. She'll be gone. None of them are real. There's a diary on the desk saying, Are you hearing me? All the previous journal entries are deceptions. Please trust me. L.
So now Lana is trapped inside her own nail studio and Lena is acting like Lana didn't write all those stuff in the diary. This is all the information that I could find covering all this lore. So let's head into the next game. The next game we have is Dandy's World. Dandy's World is actually already a horror game, but it has some lore behind it. And also there's apparently a dark side to this game as well. So we're going to be uncovering it. Dandy's World is a game where you go deeper and deeper into a park. You and other players must go to machines and fill it up with a black thing. And I assume you just avoid anything that would stop you from filling it up. But the first creepy lore is the tunes. They're not humans, and many players think they are, but they're really not. Let's listen to what this guy had to say on the tunes.
In Dandy's World, there are currently 21 playable characters known as Toons, with 1 unplayable character, Dandy, reserved exclusively for the developers. If we take a trip back to the early days of gaming, the term Toon originally referred to any playable game character. But that doesn't really give us much insight into what they are in this game. Unfortunately, there are few references in the game itself that explain what Toons truly are. However, right from the start, we can rule out that they are human. First, when you look at them, they do not look much like human. More importantly, we have a note from Arthur to his colleague Delilah, where he describes what Toons, specifically Dandy, should look like. From that, we can conclude that Arthur was the one designing the Toons, and Delilah brought them to life afterward. On the other hand, it's improbable they are machines either. In various photos and notes scattered throughout the game, we see Toons bonding and forming friendships. Also, they appear much younger in these photos than in the TV show poster.
So basically some random person drew a character which are now considered toons, and nobody actually knows what the characters in Dandy's world are. Let's see the twisted side of these toons.
These are corrupted versions of the toons, twisted by a mysterious black substance, presumably 𝗙•. They are the main enemies in the game. Each round starts with 2 base twisteds, and the number increases depending on the number of floors reached and the amount of players alive. You can find them wandering through the dark halls of the Garden View Center. They can't be killed and are extremely aggressive, chasing any toon they see until they lose sight of them.
The theory behind these twisteds are that they are the original toons, but some sort of source revived them, which made them came out with clones as twisteds. Which basically means the normal toons are not the real toons, the twisteds are.
Twisteds come in 5 different rarities. The rarity influences how often they spawn and also what skill they possess, with some even having multiple abilities. As their rarity increases, they become harder to find but also much tougher to deal with. Main characters, such as Astro, 𝗵𝗵𝗆, V, Shelly, or Sprout, have the lowest spawn chances but have unique skills that will make the game much harder. Take Twisted Astro, for example. When you miss a skill check on a machine, Astro will drain about half the current progress. Then you have the rares, which consist of 5 twisteds, including Goob, Scraps, and Flutter. They're tough but not as challenging as the main characters. Apart from maybe Scraps and Goob, these 2 are a pain to play against, as both have a ranged ability. Next are the uncommons. A few of these 6 twisteds have abilities, but they're less of a direct threat to you and your team. Instead, they alter the game's behavior. Take Roger, for example. He disguises himself as a fake research capsule. If you accidentally activate him, you'll receive a debuff, and Roger will spawn right behind you. The most common twisteds include Box 10, Poppy, Shrimpo, Tisha, and Cosmo. They do not have any special abilities but differ in their paths and behavior inside the game. The last group in the list of rarities is Lethal Twisteds. Dandy is the only twisted in this class and has a unique way of spawning. He doesn't spawn randomly like the rest. You have to complete a few separate steps in order to spawn him. What makes him lethal is that he will instantly kill any toon he touches. What's also important to note is that these twisteds can only appear once per floor. You will never find 2 or more of the same twisted in the same level.
Okay, now let's get to the scary theories to Dandy's world. Warning, if you're watching this at night, you should watch this in the morning, as this is kind of very spooky.
Here on, the evidence is scarce, but there are some compelling theories that I believe might be true. First, if you look up the word 𝗙₄ in Greek mythology, it refers to the fluid that flows in the veins of gods. We know that twisteds are corrupted by 𝗙₄, and this ancient reference helps explain why they are so powerful compared to the regular toons. That said, I don't believe you're actually playing as the toons themselves. Although the game calls them toons, I think they might be clones. You use 𝗙₄ to purchase more toons. This can just be a design choice, just the game's currency without any additional meaning. But it might also imply that 𝗙₄ is used to create clones.
So you're telling me I'm buying clones of the original twisteds, but these clones look more happier, so it won't scare off humans like twisteds do.
Adding to this theory, the game explicitly states that you are paying with 𝗙₄ to buy licenses for toons. This suggests that you don't own the character but rather purchase the license to recreate them for each run. It's like buying a blueprint to create your favorite toon. There are a few additional clues that support this theory, but not many people notice. For starters, 𝗿𝗆𝗆𝗆𝐿≫crunch's other game, Flavor Frenzy, which I mentioned earlier, also plays around clones being produced. While this is a weak connection, there are better arguments. Another key point is when you die in the game, on a split second before the gate closes, your toon explodes into a black substance, which is most likely 𝗙₄. Whether toons are entirely made of 𝗙₄ is uncertain, but it's plausible that they contain lower concentrations of it, making them not fully corrupted like twisteds are. Twisteds are not only covered in it, but some seem to leak 𝗙₄ from their wounds, indicating that the substance is a part of their internal system.
Toons have 𝗙₄ in them, which is what twisteds have in them, which basically means toons are somehow linked to twisteds.
The final clue can only be noticed by players who spend a lot of time in the game. As I mentioned before, when you collect enough research points, you unlock the description for the twisted. Dandy's description says, the star of the show, the one who runs the 𝗙₄ operation, it's all his fault. What can be taken from this? First of all, Dandy is the one selling the toon licenses. If he's fully running the 𝗙₄ operation, he's not only collecting 𝗙₄ from the machines, but he's also gathering it from you in exchange for creating more toons to work for him. The description of the corrupted Dandy also hints that everything is his fault. 𝗙₄ is being extracted through machines that seem to pull it from an underground reservoir of some kind. It's reasonable to assume that 𝗙₄ was always present when Arthur and Delilah first opened the park. During the first months, when the original toons were still working there with their handlers, Dandy may have discovered 𝗙₄ and its power. We know that Dandy was the first toon designed and likely created. Delilah rushed Arthur to finish the designs for the others. So the two may have decided to change a thing or two in their process to speed things up after Dandy was created. Because of this, Dandy may be somewhat special, which could explain why ichor doesn't affect him to the same extent. Perhaps he might have made other toons work for him on the machines. Dandy sought power, and other toons were helping their friend, probably not realizing what this was about. That something isn't right with Dandy can also be seen in some dialogues between characters. For instance, in a conversation between Astro and Pebble, Astro expresses concern about Dandy, saying he's worried about him. The twist came right before the closure of Garden View Center. At the beginning of the story, I mentioned that Garden View Center closed due to some kind of malfunction. That was most likely the point when the original toons became corrupted and transformed to Twisteds. They were no longer safe to be around children, and the park had to close. There are hints that the malfunction involved exploded extractors. For example, after completing an extraction, your character sometimes says, "Phew, I'm glad that didn't explode." Additionally, as you explore the floors, you can find traces of ichor where machines may have once stood before exploding.
Wow, these theories actually make so much sense. Dandy is the ruler of all toons, and everybody is actually working for Dandy, since they're using his ichor. They just don't know it, and also the fact that the park would be closed if Twisteds were visible to humans is crazy. Since Twisteds were not safe to be around children or any sort of human. I also found this video where Shrimpo is very confused on what she is. By the way, Shrimpo is a toon.
Oh, a visitor. I don't get visitors often. I hope I make a good first impression. My name is Shrimpo. You might know that name. I don't know what exactly happened to me or why I'm like this. I remember my last life though. I was very rude and non-caring. And I didn't care about anything or anyone. I hated everything. But now, I wish I could take it all back. My past was like I knew no definition of misery. Like sadness wasn't a concept to me. I never truly experienced it. I only gave sadness to others. I want to take it all back now that I now truly feel what misery feels like. I've been trapped in this limbo for God knows how long. I don't even how I got, and I'm lucky you found me. Very, very lucky. Well, you look like you wanna go? I don't wanna waste your time too much. You should really get going, but please visit me. Visit me soon, and friend.
That has to be one of the saddest story of a toon out there. She's literally trapped inside of a toon's body. She remembers her past life, but she doesn't remember how she got into that toon's body nor why she's in it. Also, that game was just a theory, so it's not proven true nor false. Anyways, enough about Dandy's world. Let's head into the next game. Guys, this is the dark truth about Brookhaven. We all know Brookhaven is a regular roleplay game where you can get a house, get a job, raise kids, rob stores, everything you can do in real life, you can do it on Brookhaven. But do you know the creepy side of how Brookhaven was invented? Let's get straight into it.
At the history of Brookhaven. We start off with Mr. Brookhaven, just an average guy in the woods along with his horse. Now in the next frame we can see he's digging up some gold. After doing some digging though, Mr. Brookhaven found something odd, this mysterious magical pyramid. And instead of telling anyone about this discovery, Mr. Brookhaven covers it up, but the magical pyramid begins to resonate with him. And sometime later, Mr. Brookhaven would use the gold he found to construct a town, and during the building process, he would meet his future wife, Madison, and soon his daughter, which they would lose, but more on that later, because we move on to the second tape. Here we show the town of Brookhaven being constructed, and this is where things start to get weird. So in this frame, Mr. Brookhaven is seen climbing up the attic of what appears to be the funeral home, and with the last frame it shows him holding up a flashlight, almost as if storing something in there.
So you're telling me Brookhaven was made by a guy in forest who was lucky enough to find a glowing pyramid, and now this pyramid is separated all over Brookhaven, and he also had a child that went missing.
But what is it exactly? Well, if we go into camera mode, you can actually look and see what Mr. Brookhaven is hiding in here. It's a piece of the pyramid, the thing he dug up all those years ago. So obviously he hasn't told anyone about this, but why? So in the third and final movie tape, we could see Mr. Brookhaven and his wife Madison living happy and peacefully in their new home. They also have a child. Life is great for the Brookhavens, but that's when the agency shows up to wage an all-out war on Mr. Brookhaven and everyone he cares about. They're seen landing in what appears to be the original spot Mr. Brookhaven first found the mystical pyramid. That's when they go back to their base, where they are seen to have found some pieces of it as well. And that's when the army is called to wage an all-out war on Mr. Brookhaven and his family. And this is where we get a first glimpse on what these pyramids' abilities can actually do.
These pyramids are actually some sort of magical object that made Brookhaven so powerful, but now an agency wants to take it.
So in the next frame, we see Mr. Brookhaven being told that he's in danger. It seems like the true power of the pyramid is that it allows the user to see into the future, possibly even time travel, but more on that later. So knowing that the army was out to get him, Mr. Brookhaven, Madison, and their child fled the scene. They would go into what appears to be a bakery. If you go inside this bakery, you'll see that there's actually a hidden passageway. In here, there's also a note stating, "The sound stretches across the town, an alarm to those at sea. You will enter with a piece from that which bends. We will be hid from the powers that be." So obviously making references to the pyramids and its power being scattered around the town. I'm not really sure who wrote that, but in the same room, there are beds that Madison, Mr. Brookhaven, and his child were all staying in while in hiding. Meanwhile, the agency is working with the military and the police to find Mr. Brookhaven. The agency even goes on media broadcast to report Mr. Brookhaven as a wanted man.
Yeah, he was hiding because he knew how much that pyramid valued. And he didn't want any dirty government to get their hands on it.
And so eventually realizing he can no longer hide and not wanting to put his family in any more danger, Mr. Brookhaven would turn himself in to the military and the agency. They bring him in for interrogation, but while being imprisoned, the powers of the pyramid activates and he mysteriously disappears. Left confused and without a trace of Mr. Brookhaven, the agent members report his disappearance and the tape ends for us to figure out the rest of the timeline. So get your thinking caps on because it's theory time. So we know the agency is now in hiding. We could see this through various pieces of their logo scattered throughout, most notably their bunker, which is hidden near a gas station. But the agency wasn't always hidden because as you saw in the tapes, they were in contact with the police, the military, and even the hospitals. In fact, they even had an entire building at one point in Brookhaven, and yes, it was actually playable, but it was removed during the summer 2020 map update. So what changed? Why did the agency building mysteriously disappear? All that can be answered with the original movie that's played in the theaters.
I wonder why that building was removed from Brookhaven. Maybe the dark history on it was too much to bear.
See, it's not just a random movie, it actually connects to the town of Brookhaven. Then later enters a bunker that may seem familiar to you, but the lights are different, so this could be a different location. And so during the FBI agent's investigation on the agency, something happens to him. He turns into this green, zombie-like creature, and then goes into a life of crime. And that's where the movie ends. So the FBI agent found something about the agency that got shut down, and he got attacked by them in some bizarre way. The agency did have ties with the hospital and police, but that didn't last long. And we know this because of a note found in a secret bunker that states, "Dear General, after visiting the hospital and witnessing the agency's practices, the medical team and I have chosen to resign. Please consider doing the same. Medical Officer Avid." So yeah, this caused the eventual shutdown of the agency and they went into hiding. But I want to talk more about this FBI agent because this isn't the first time he's been shown. At one of the houses, there's a secret passageway, and when unlocked, you'll be taken to a hidden room. Within this is a laptop with the text, "I did not know the truth in the beginning. They came when I was a child." And I believe they're referring to the agency. And on the bottom left of the laptop it states, "Property of the FBI," along with a photo of the same exact guy. So this room is where the FBI agent was hiding. But there's actually another location where the photo is located. In the prison going to the cells, you're able to escape, but instead of going outside of the jail, you can actually go through the walls and into a mysterious room. Within that room is another photo of the FBI agent, but why? Well, I believe someone that was locked in this cell was locked because the FBI agent from when he stormed the agency building. After the person was locked up, they wanted him dead, and so they turned him into this green monster.
So this FBI agent also has some lore to him. This is getting insane.
But who's responsible for this? Who would be so powerful within the agency to want him dead? Well, that, of course, is the creator of the agency. So in the museum, you can see a picture of a sinister-looking man, and you can kind of wave it off as a random citizen, but after doing a series of tasks, you're able to see a hologram of him, almost as if he's been watching you this entire time. Afterwards, if you go to the graveyard, in the back of one of the tombstones is a text stating the creator of the agency. My theory is that he's not actually dead. Same with Mr. Brookhaven, who's not dead either, which is also confirmed because if you start a funeral at the church and look in the coffin, you'll merely find a picture of Mr. Brookhaven. But what about Madison? Where does she go during all this? Well, she stayed hidden.
Guys, the video has to end here because it's getting way too deep, but I will most likely do a follow-up and bust some of these secrets in a different video for you guys. Anyways, take care and stay spooky. Bye, my winters.